Alrighty, here we go. This is the Travis Neville podcast. I am Travis Neville. I've written a few books, the most recent of which is this one. It's called Ideal Man, Mastering Masculinity. It's a midlife checkpoint. For all you guys out there want to know if you're doing it right, you probably are. If you're asking the question, am I doing it right, then you care what the right thing is, and that means you're probably chasing that. For more background on that, everything in the black covered book, Mastering Masculinity, is a result of habits that you developed by reading the white covered book, which is Reviving Masculinity. Both of these are available anywhere you buy books. You can go into Barnes & Noble. If they don't have it, they can get it. You can get on Amazon right now and order it. It'll be at your house in 4 or 5 days here in the US, a little bit longer if you're in Europe or Asia or any other places I've sent it. It does take a while in some of those places. Mailed to South Africa and Estonia, Sweden, Finland, UK, Australia a few times. Yeah, it's all over the world. What a nice compliment. Anyway, that's what I do. I write these books for the purpose of this show. That's my purpose in life. Now, what I want to talk about today is building. If you are a man, you have the desire to build. You have the yearning to improve things around you, to make things better, to leave your mark. Say it however you want to. It's a natural thing for guys. I actually am a builder. I have a builder's license here in the state of Michigan where I live, and I do use that skill to help people. Um, I charge them money to build things for them, basically. I just yesterday stripped off a rotten little section of deck and resurfaced it and put it all back together and put a coat of stain on it. I like that work. It took me half a day. Uh, there's some pictures on Instagram if you want to go take a look. I put some up. The 2 days before that, I built a woodshed for myself out of a bunch of leftover materials I had from building my house. The building that I'm actually standing in right now recording this episode, I built it myself, which I know I talk about that a lot, but I'm fucking proud of it. Why wouldn't you be? Man, you do something like that, let me tell you, you'll be proud too. It's a lot of work and it's pretty cool. So yeah, I actually do build things. I've kind of gravitated towards that since I was a young guy. I can remember the first thing I ever built, sitting in the barn with my dad. He had like a workshop out there and we built a bench. It was really just like a stool, like a chair out of just dimensional lumber. I remember thinking it was the coolest thing. And so I think I just kind of had it in my blood to do it then. And, when I was a kid, my dad was my hero. And if he'd wanted to do it, well, then shit, I wanted to do it too. So that kind of fits hand in glove with what we do here. Fathers are role models. That's important. But why is it important? I mean, why is building things important for a man? Well, we've covered this many times before. A man without a purpose is the most dangerous man. What do I mean by that? Um, Well, when you do have a purpose, you have a reason for being alive. You have a thing that drives you, a thing that pushes you forward. And the opposite of that would be not having a purpose. And now you are listless and aimless. And that doesn't change the fact that you still have a lot of testosterone, a lot of strength, a lot of desire to change, a lot of desire to create, a lot of desire to make a mark, essentially. And if you're not doing that in a healthy way, building something, well, then the tendency is, and this is much easier than building things, but far less satisfying, and that's to tear things down. Um, I have and I'll talk a little bit more about this later, but I serve on the school board here in the town that I live in. And without revealing too much information here, I spoke with a young man the other day who's having trouble, who's kind of in a rough spot. And I sent him a copy of Reviving Masculinity, which I believe is the young man's guide for how to get your life together, get it to where it needs to be. What I told him was, hey, Man, these hands have been in handcuffs, and I showed them just like this. I'm like, I've been in handcuffs. I've seen the inside of a jail cell. I've done bad shit. I have, but I have my life back together. I believe that those low points build the high points in your life. If you want to have high points, those low points, just by contrast, make your highs feel a lot higher. Um, like take my house for example. It's only 1,500 square feet, but I built it myself. It's not massive, but I've been low. I've been homeless before. In college, I didn't have any place to live. I was sleeping on people's floors. Um, so I very much appreciate this, right? And that's what I try to get across to this young man. Hey, um, doesn't matter where you come from. It matters where you end up. What are you aiming towards? So that I saw on Amazon sent me a thing today, said that my book had arrived at his doorstep and sends you a little picture. So I hope that does something for him. I mean, this guy just clearly no father in his life, and nobody worth a shit anyway. And as we know, boys become men socially. They've got to see role models. They've got to see men doing it right, or they won't know what to do. There's not a lot of biological component as far as what should your actions be, what direction should you be moving. There's not a lot of that out there without a father. And I can go back into that more later, and I will here. We're going to talk about school here in a minute. But yeah, that's why build. Um, it's that sense of purpose. Like I left a mark behind. I did something that needed to be done. I improved a thing that needed to be improved. My life is not meaningless. I did something that was helpful and useful and moved the world forward, or at least got it back to where it was, something like that. That's why it's important. Without having the desire to build, again, you want to tear things down, and that's okay. So there's the background. So what kinds of things in your life can you build? Where can you put your energy? Maybe you don't have the natural ability yet, and I've got a couple of buddies who don't have any abilities with their hands. Like they can't build anything, do anything. Um, so you got to be able to build in other areas. You don't have a builder's license. I got three good friends who do have builder's licenses, and I talk to them all the time about what we do, and we have that in common. But all right, so you're not building things physically. Well, you can always build your family, okay? And I'm of the mind that the more children, the better. Um, Stronger the children, the better. Um, uh, and that's real simple. You're building your family name. You're building your legacy. You're building your genetic lineage. Um, I think it's Attila the Hun or one of these great emperors, conquerors. There's something like 25% of everyone in Asia has his DNA in them. I mean, and you're probably not going to get to that level. It's hard to do that now. That's a lot of raping to get to there. But the idea behind it is, hey, prosper, um, be fruitful, uh, get your best work out there. And I'm of the mind that the best work you'll ever do, and I've built a lot of things, physical things. The best work you'll ever do is how you improve the people around you. Um, I don't have my own family. That was always my goal. I really wanted to do that. Just has never worked out, but I can feel very proud of the way I've built my nuclear family. I've tried to, like this past weekend, I was down at my brother's place hanging out with him, building that relationship. I really enjoy him. He's a great dude, and uh, I talk to my sister when I can. Last week or 2 weeks ago, I think I was down at my mom's house. I think it was last weekend. Yeah, so less than 10 days ago, fewer than 10 days ago, I was at my mom's place hanging out with her. And the reason I was down there was to help out a friend, a buddy of mine. But I figured if I was down there, I might as well, put in some family time, which I did. I went over to visit a cousin and sort of a married in cousin and pick up this piano that had been my grandmother's. Anyway, I drive all the way down to where I grew up, 3, 4 hours away. And I'm all of the time I spent down there was for other people. And I'm not some saint. It's not like I didn't enjoy it, but all of those interactions, positive interactions, those build relationships, they build your family. The more you can bond your family together, the stronger your family is. That's always a good thing. Um, Outside of just your family, you've got all the other relationships in your life, and that's another thing you can build if you don't have the physical means to physically build things. The reason I was downstate last weekend was, one of my best friends, his mother passed away a few weeks ago, and they had her celebration of life. Um, of course, I'm not going to miss that. Um, and you got to think about it from his perspective. Here he is standing there in a very much a low point in his life, eulogizing his mother. I mean, that's pretty low, and he sees walk in a stream of good buddies, and I stood there with all these great men that I know. Um, Chris and Eric and Harley was there, and Julian, and I'm gonna forget some guys. Dan, Dan was there. Dixon was there. Like all these guys that are great men that I really respect and admire, all filed in to let him know so that he could see, and that's what it is. So obviously we can't bring his mom back. She's a great lady. I really enjoyed her. Um, but we can't bring her back. But what you do by showing up at something like that is he's standing there and he's watching this parade of good men in his life walk in, and it's a reminder of how much good he does have in his life, right? So yeah, I'm in a low point, but hey, don't forget you got all these other great connections, right? And of course, he's got a ton of family there and friends and family of friends and friends of family. 200 people are in this room, because his parents, very outgoing people, a lot of fun. Matter of fact, they know some of my relatives. It's his dad, Tom, is a very social guy, and so he has a lot of friendships as well. And um, but yeah, that's how you build a relationship. When they're down, you're there to pick them up, and when they're up, you're there to celebrate with them. When things go well, you help them out. Um, yeah, I'd look at my circle of friends, and um, I've been a best man 4 times. I think that says good things about me, that 4 men on the planet believe that I'm the best man uh, for that job. Uh, that's a hell of a compliment. I'm forever grateful for being given that compliment. Can you count those in your life? Can you count the amount of times that you've stood up in somebody's wedding or been next to them when they did something very important, help them celebrate? This as much as the low times, you want to be there at their best times, and that's a great way to build relationships. Also in the vein of build relationships, I think text messaging is, especially among men, like the best thing there is for maintaining relationships, especially with your boys. And I learned that, like texting just got real big, uh, like early mid 2000s, I would say, is kind of when everybody was texting. And right around then is when I moved to Indiana. So I moved to a different state. I was several hours from all of my friends and a lot of my family. And right then I got my first BlackBerry, which has the full keyboard at the bottom. So man, I got good at texting because those things were so nice. You could feel the buttons. I could text without even looking, which was nice. And I was able to maintain great relationships through the many years I was down in Indiana. And then they were right there for me when I moved back home, which was super helpful. Yeah, so just texting, man. Anytime I see a thing out in public or I run across something on the internet and I have to be on social media and stuff a lot because of this, because of the books, right? I'm always seeing posts that reminded me of this buddy or this experience we had or this thing that we did together. And I never hesitate. Snap a picture, send it to the guys, involved in that, just to remind them, hey, man, thinking about you. Hope all's well. You're on my mind when you're not around. You're a good dude. Glad you're in my life. And I do that with family too. Why not? Texting I think is huge for that. And let me pause here with the relationships. Some of you are thinking, what the hell do you need friends for, man? You got a family? All you do is drink beer. Um, not like specifically judging me, but maybe looking at your own life, you're thinking, what the hell do I need all these friends for? Well, you're gonna have to eulogize your mom one day too. Um, that's gonna happen, man. And you're gonna want those guys around to help you. And why wouldn't you want somebody there helping you when you celebrate? Something's going really well for you. Why would you not want that? I mean, the stronger your relationships are, the stronger you are. And there are no exceptions to that. I mean, stronger the relationships you are, the stronger relationships you have, the stronger the man you are. No doubt about that. Uh, yeah, I do actually build physical structures. I do a lot of work with my hands. I really enjoy it. Um, like this weekend, my buddy Chris is coming up. We're just gonna cut firewood. Um, and I love it. Like I built a cool log splitter. I've got a couple nice chainsaws. I've got some equipment. Like I told you, I just finished building a new woodshed here at my house. Um, I like that work. I like the end result of it. Okay, it's a great workout, obviously, moving all that wood around and running the cool. The tools are awesome. Like I love the sound of a chainsaw when it's wide open. I love using my log splitter. But the best part, no doubt about it, is looking at a stack of split, dried, cut firewood. Like it to me, it's better. It feels better than looking at a bank balance, like a positive bank balance, because I know that that has universal appeal. Whether things are going well in the world or going piss poor, you got to be warm. You need to be warm or you're going to die. So it's universally helpful. I know without a doubt, no matter what comes, that firewood is going to be helpful for me. And of course, there's a sense of satisfaction in looking at it and going, yeah, I cut all that. That was a lot of work and it looks cool. I'm glad for it. It's pretty cool. I get the same feeling when I look at a structure I build or something that I fixed or a house that I painted. I paint a lot of houses and the difference, they look so damn good when they're done. When you go through my phone, if I can go into my images and search the word house and I'll get hundreds of pictures because I take all kinds of pictures of the stuff I work on, even though it's not mine. That satisfaction is a thing you need to be seeking out. You need to be looking for that ways to do things where you can physically look at it and go, I did that, I made that, I built that, I fixed that, I cleaned that, whatever it is. Those things in your life are huge. Today, I'm on my way up to the gym this morning, and went out of my way and swung past the high school football field because yesterday, and I'll talk about more about this in a minute. I painted the field goal posts, the game field posts, and then the ones on the practice field behind it. The ones on the practice field were shit. Like they were in such bad shape. I've been painted, no joke, 20 years, 25 years. They had four different colors on them. I mean, the chips were unbelievable. I brought like 6 jars of salsa to go with all the chips I peeled off of this damn thing. That's a bad joke. Um, yeah, I drove by just to look at it this morning. Yeah, fuck yeah, it looks good, dude. Yeah. Feels good. Feels good to improve something. So if you can make any kind of physical structure, so like my brother, for example, like he's never going to build his own house, and he's not, which is crazy because he has the ability at least to frame. Like he was on a legit framing crew when he was a young guy, and when I built my cabin, he helped me frame it. Like I couldn't have done that without him. He was far beyond my knowledge at that point. But that's not usually his thing. He's more of a um, build it like a cutting board or build a really cool sign, make it out of old wood. Like so he does the woodworking, he does create things. His are just far more artistic and detail oriented than the stuff that I make, which is cool. Everybody's got their thing, but he has that satisfaction in his life. So don't feel like built houses the only thing you can build. I mean, I work on cars too. I've built several vehicles in various stages. Done a lot of lift kits, motor improvements, rear end stuff, just a lot of suspension, a lot of brakes. And that's satisfying too. Anytime you can work on a thing with your hands and build, you're going to feel better about that. Let's see. Now, by far the biggest thing, the most important thing you need to be building is something beyond yourself. What do I mean by that? Your career, that's important and it's helpful. I talk in Master in Masculinity about professional sovereignty, or sorry, financial sovereignty. Specifically talks about making money. And making money is the thing you got to do. You know what I mean? Good luck getting by without money. And as much as I enjoy building, I wouldn't be doing the construction work I do if it didn't pay so well. But I make enough doing that stuff in the summer to pay for my life all year. So it works out pretty great that I can do something I like and make great money at it. I don't think you need to live like you don't need to love what you do, but you should like it. It's got to be a thing you enjoy, or it's going to be a difficult 40 hours a week for you. That's going to suck. But anyway, building something larger than yourself. What I mean by that is a thing where you are giving to it far more than it's ever going to give to you outside of, again, that sense of satisfaction. You're giving to a thing that's not going to pay you. It's not going to fuck you. It's not going to cook for you. Building a thing that you can just be happy that you built it and know that you put your time in and put your all in and made it great. Now, what I've chosen two different things in my life that fit in that realm. The first thing is to build the community that I live in here. I live in a small town in northern Michigan, and I taught for over a decade, and during that time, I coached a lot of sports and I had some success. So here I am in this new town. I've chosen to help by coaching football. So, you guys know I've coached before. I've coached all over the place, and now I'm in this small town, and man, I want to help the community, and that's one place where I know I've got some strengths there. I've got some abilities, and will that help the community? Yes, it will. When you have a great football team, and by great, I don't necessarily just mean wins. I mean high character kids who are making good choices and becoming great men. Well, then those great men are going to go out in the community and improve the community in ways that you could never comprehend, ways that you could never quantify. So that's always my goal with these young men. Let's make them the best men they can be. I mean, they're 15, 16, 18-year-old young guys looking to want to be adults. And some of them don't have fathers at home. Some of them don't have fathers worth a shit even if they are at home. And it's an opportunity for me and the other coaches to be that surrogate mentor, like we talked about at the beginning. A man without a purpose is the most dangerous man. Well, I can be that alternative. Like when you're at home and you just got single mom at home and you got all female teachers and you don't have any male role models, you're left looking at what's on TV screens. Unless, and of course, all that shit's garbage, man. Good luck finding a good solid role model, a male role model on a TV screen or on your phone. But instead, you can give them an alternative. I grew up with a great father, no doubt about it, but my high school track coach, I had him for one season, 1 year, one sport. Um, but I ended up modeling a lot of what he did as a coach. Like I still do things a lot the way that he did it. And that was 30 years ago. I still do things a lot like Mark Ladd did things. And proud to say that. I'm proud of that guy. I'm proud to know him. I'm proud to be a part of his coaching lineage. Um, he taught me a lot just by what he did, by how he acted, how he handled things. It was a lot less about the strategy and the X's and O's of track and field. It was about this is how you should handle your life, young man. And really, most of that echoed what I was getting at home, but to get it from an outside source just reinforced it, right? It fortified what I thought I already knew. And yeah, so I still follow a lot of his stuff. So I get to coach football here in this small town, which is great. I volunteer to do a lot of things outside of that. I host all the post-game get-togethers with coaches and families and support people. Superintendent was at the last one. I host that stuff in my garage. I got a nice big heated garage with music and lights and all that, and big beer fridge and all the stuff that you need for a thing like that. I do that. Um, when I was downstate for that celebration of life for my buddy's mom, another thing I went and picked up was what's called a segment timer, which is this big clock with a countdown that is going to help keep our practices much more organized and disciplined. I arranged that deal and got that from a school that I used to work at and brought it up here. And now I'm going to be able to use that with this new school, which will revolutionize how we practice, which again, everything we can do that improves these boys improves the whole community. No doubt about that. And then, like I told you, I just finished painting the goalposts. One of them was all wonky. Um, bent. I've been bent for 20 years. Who knows how long? Nobody could remember when it wasn't bent when I asked around, even the old timers. So I got a buddy who's got some equipment. He brought over a big excavator and we straightened the thing out. And now I'm painting them. And just little things like that, I think, go a long way. Things that the community is going to see and enhances their pride. I learned that very early on in the education world that you sort of reflect what you see, right? If everything around you see is dirty and shitty, then you're going to continue that. But things around you are sharp and clean and looking good, well, then you're gonna continue that. And these are young people. They're malleable. We want to mold them into good, positive people. So trying to do that, things like that. I'm on the school board. I'm serving there. You know, Everybody tells me it's a thankless job so far. It hasn't been too bad, but it's a little boring sometimes. But there's no money in it. It's just me trying to help the community, which, I have a background, right? I was an educator for a long time, got a master's degree. I've researched all this stuff about young men. I can help. What can you do? What ways can you help improve your community? I was talking with my buddy Julian last weekend, and I suggested that to him because he's just getting into coaching. And I mentioned the school board thing. I'm like, man, they'd be lucky to have you. He's a very bright guy. He's super, super able to figure things out. Real uh, like analytical mind on him. Very smart, charismatic, sharp-looking guy. Like he would be very persuasive in one of those rooms, sitting on one of those boards. He'd be very helpful for his community. So I put that in his ear, and he said it gave him something to think about. So maybe that'll go that way. We'll see. But yeah, that's serving something bigger than me, larger than I am. It's this community that I live in. I want to try to make it better. I want to be a positive part of it, uh, move things in the right direction when I can. That's the one thing, my community, that's the one bigger than me thing that I've chosen. And then the second thing that's larger than I am that I've chosen as my purpose is this right here. Um, I'm gonna be really honest with you. I've written 3 books so far, and I've got 100 and some, 120 some podcasts out there. It's been 4 years I've been doing this stuff. I've got all kinds of social media, and I mean, I would tell you 25, 30 grand of my own money invested in this stuff between the publishing and the travel and all the apps you got to buy and the equipment here that I'm recording with, and it just the money is my money is going into it. I have not made back what I've put in, and it's not close. It's probably not even half, it's probably not even a quarter yet. And I'm hoping that eventually that becomes an investment that pays off. But um, yeah, again, I'm putting into this because I need something that I can feel good about. I want to know that I'm improving the world. Okay, so I'm doing something in my community with football and school board and all that, but I also want to improve the whole world if I can. Um, I have offered a solution to the problem that I've heard over and over again, that there are no good men anymore. Now, as soon as I became single in 2018, I started dating. Like that's the first thing I started hearing from these women. I'd be sitting across from at a bar or restaurant or whatever, even just talking to them on the phone, and they would tell me, "Oh yeah, there's no men are junk, men are shit. There's no good men." I'm like, "How can that be? It's half of the planet. We're the greatest country in the world, the greatest country ever devised. How can that be that there are no good men?" And then I started doing some research, and I started figuring out that anyway, all the things you've heard me talk about for the last 4 years, I started figuring all that out, and I decided if I were going to complain about that, if I wanted to have a right to bitch or judge these fruity, soft ass, not real men that I see sitting in the passenger seat while his girl's pumping gas in the winter, um, sitting in the passenger seat at all, man, you should be driving, bro. That's a hard one for me to unless you're drunk or injured, you're driving, man. That's part of your job as a man. Um, Not opening doors, no respect, no kind of etiquette, no kind of um, ability to interact with women. Um, no desire to protect and provide, at least none that they've been taught. Like there's so many guys that need that and they aren't doing it because they've just never seen anyone else do it around them. Like I told you, no role models. That's what I wanted to address here. That's what I'm trying to do. I want to offer a solution. Like when I started hearing that from women, I didn't like how it made me feel. It made me feel like, well, maybe men aren't that good. And then that dug into my own personal insecurities, which had to do with, well, shit, you finding yourself single in your 40s, you're doing something wrong, man. Something's wrong. Like you're a handsome guy, you're fit, you're well spoken, I've got a lot of cards, thanks, mom and dad. And how is this? So I started learning how to be great at being a man, and then I thought, well, maybe I can help make everybody else better at it as well, and then they'll quit complaining. That's my hope anyway. Um, yeah. So all this research, all this reading, all this information, all the podcasts, everybody I've spoken with, all the other professionals, the psychologists, anthropologists, doctors, relationship coaches, therapists, uh, all these people that spoken with, that I've learned from, um, I'm giving that information to you. So you can just absorb it and you don't have to go out and spend all the time that I've spent. And in that way, hopefully I am improving the world. I mean, that's what I'm hoping for. What can you do to improve the world around you? Outside of building those relationships, outside of, and that's the biggest one, I'm telling you, building relationships. Outside of building your community, outside of building your family, building physical things, what can you find that's bigger than you are? Okay, and you can argue that your kids are, because they kind of are bigger than you are, because they'll be there after you're gone, and that's a big deal. But what thing can you donate your time to? What thing can you volunteer yourself to? In what way can you be of use just in the most raw, generous way. Where can you put your time and effort? And maybe it's a situation where you have your kids come with you to do those sorts of things, where you're volunteering, I don't know, to hand out gifts on Christmas to the less fortunate. You bring your kids with you. Working at, you spend a couple nights at a soup kitchen, learning how that works and helping out the poor. I mean, there's a ton of lessons that you can learn, that your kids can learn from being in that environment. Ways that they can, you know, there's a ton there. So find a way to be involved in something bigger than you. That's the best way you can build. Uh, I would argue that you absolutely need to have that as a man. Without it, your life is less fruitful. Without it, you are less productive. Without it, your name does not ring with the same glory that it could, had you been giving your all. And let me tell you, you will get back from that too. That sense of satisfaction, that deep breath of knowing you're impacting, is huge. And I'm not saying, don't go be a fucking advocate. Don't go be an activist. That's bullshit. It's not about what flag you have over your picture on Facebook. It's about, what are you doing? What are you going to go do that's going to help the world? It's going to change the world. Do that. Okay. So building, that's what it is. You are a man. You are meant to build. Find ways to do it. I gave you a bunch of places you could do it and a lot of examples from my own life. I don't think there's any reason why you can't knock that out, especially now the holidays are starting. Today is Halloween. We're rolling into the holiday season here. Got a lot of people that could use your help, and a lot of other people who are going to need to feel needed. So do that if you can. My name is Travis Neville. This is the Travis Neville Podcast. Please buy my books. They are on Audible. They are on Amazon. They are at Barnes & Noble. Or just hit me up on a comment on this. I'll send you one for free. I will. If you got a story, I do this all the time. My son really needs a role model. What do I do? He doesn't have a father, blah, blah. First thing I do is send him a book for free. Give me your address. I'll send him a book for free and a t-shirt and some stickers. That will help him. Outside of that, I'll give you all the advice I can give you. I'll give you the benefit of my wisdom for free. Okay? It is me trying to change the world around me, help make everything better. Again, I'm Travis Neville. This is the Travis Neville Podcast. I hope that in some way today's show helped you to get your shit together. Have a great week.